Nerdy Prudes Must Die, an original musical by Team StarKid, is a dark comedy/slasher musical written by Nick and Matt Lang and composed by Jeff Blim. The show is about high school stereotypes around the time of homecoming and follows Max Yeagerman, the jock.
Oh, well, there's a difference between intent and impact. I learned that at the anti-bullying assembly last month. Fuck Nugget!
Stephanie Lauder, the cool girl.
Did you just throw your hand between the hammer and the phone?
Yeah.
Peter Spankowski.
Me? Your name's Peter, right? Yeah.
Ruth Fleming.
Probably a telemarketer.
Oh, lucky. I'm such a loser. Telemarketers hang up on me.
And Richard Lipschitz.
Stephanie Lauder!
Nani?
The Nerds, and Grace Chastity, the prudy Christian.
Can I carry your books for you?
Carry my books? I don't think either of us are ready for that. I mean, we're only 18.
To briefly summarize, Max Yeagerman bullies the Nerds, Steph catches on and wants to teach Max a lesson. Grace hijacks Steph's plan to get back at him. They plan to scare him and film it to humiliate and humble Yeagerman. The prank goes wrong. The house they do it in is old and haunted, and Max falls through the floorboards and dies. With his last words, he swears revenge and says,
Nerdy! Prudes must die!
Everything is bliss for 2 weeks, then Yeagerman comes back as a ghost and begins killing the main group. The story culminates with 5 dead, a deal with the devil, a homecoming dance, and Grace Chastity on a deathly quest. The music in Nerdy Prudes Must Die is probably the best Jeff Blim has written yet, and the most cohesive. There are so many reoccurring themes, not only within the show, but with other musicals he's written before. The most notable are the Show Me Your Hands motif, which plays in the background whenever there's a cop present.
Calling all units, putting out an APB on one Grace Chastity. She's an 18-year-old Caucasian.
The Nightmare Time motif, which shows up whenever something supernatural happens. The Hatchet Town motif, established in this show to partially indicate death.
Hatchet Town, hands on the hatchet handle, swinging on the youth, it's a hatchet scandal.
And the I'm Not a Loser motif, also established in Nerdy Prudes to indicate character growth.
I will know that I'm not a loser.
However, I believe this last motif has a secondary use. First established with lyrics in the first solo song of the musical, Cool as I Think I Am, the I'm Not a Loser chorus pops up seemingly everywhere. The most noticeable other instance of it is during the titular song, where Richie joins in with the chorus to scream out I'm not a loser at the ghost of Max Yeagerman.
Who will break when your body's gone? This is the consequence for what you've done. What did you say?
The motif is also prominent in the reprise of Cool as I Think I Am.
And if I finally break the rules, you have to do it.
Finally, it shows up at the very end of the show during Dirty Dudes Must Die.
Run, you little bitch! Who will break?
There are 2 other instances of the motif, but it's just the instrumentals. At the very beginning of the show, before a single word is sung, you can hear the piano play I'm Not a Loser when the strings join in. The other place I'm Not a Loser shows up is a little hard to notice on the first listen. During Ruth's big number, Just for Once, the music swells as she's going to hit the high notes, and the I'm Not a Loser theme is played by the orchestra. Why does it show up in these specific places? Is there something that connects these scenes together? It seems to be used to denote a character hitting a vital point in their arc. Peter getting his confidence, Richie finally belonging, Ruth letting go of her anxiety, Peter again agreeing to sacrifice himself, and Grace beginning her rampage. This isn't its only use, though. The motif is also used to foreshadow a character's death or severe misfortune. Peter gets beat up in a parking lot, Richie is torn apart, Ruth is split in half, Stephanie shoots Pete, Grace sets out to cleanse the world of everyone she deems ungodly. The key notes in the phrase, the I'm not a loser part, follow a familiar pattern to those who have studied music or have watched enough Sideways videos. A note, a step down, a step back up, then a larger step down. Sure sounds like the Dies Irae to me. The Dies Irae, or at least the part everyone knows, is a four-note phrase that starts on one note, usually F, moves one half step down, one half step back up to the original note, then 1.5 steps down. It's a motif that's been used to signify death since it was first composed around the 13th century. You may recognize it from the original Star Wars, or The Lion King. Most instances of the main I'm not a loser motif consist of a note followed by a half step down, then a half step back up, then a 3.5 note jump down the scale. What? But the characters die immediately after those notes are heard, and the times the Dies Irae actually is present in the theme, everyone remains alive. It's not even that the composer doesn't use the Dies Irae to foreshadow death. It shows up in Bully the Bully and Bury the Bully, the songs immediately before and after Max Jaegerman's death, and Hatchettown, a song where everyone in the town of Hatchetfield is accusing each other of murder. I do think the use of the Dies Irae is intentional, and the absence of it in Richie and Ruth's death scenes is vital, and I think it all has to do with the mindset of the characters. In the instances where the Dies Irae is absent, Richie and Ruth are at their emotional peaks. Richie, who finally feels like he belongs at school,
You know, for the first time, I feel like I belong. I love this school. I love being alive.
is trapped in the locker room with Max's vengeful spirit. Max sings about how Richie is replaceable, he's forgettable, that getting killed will be the consequence for simply existing. In a desperate plea to save his life, Richie defaults to storytelling logic. Max's final words were, "Nerdy Prude must die." That's his ghostly mission. If Richie can prove he's no longer a nerdy prude, his life will be spared. In what's probably the most pivotal and iconic moment of the entire show, Richie joins the chorus that's been building up in the background and belts out "I'm not a loser" and breaks the Dies Irae with that final note.
This is the consequence for what you've done.
Max stops. For a split second, Richie, and by extension the audience, thinks he's safe. Of course he isn't safe. He said so himself at the top of the show.
I'm dead.
Later, in Act 2, it's Ruth's turn in the spotlight. She's running the lights for the school's production of the barbecue monologues. During dress rehearsal, Ruth is called on stage to look at a light that needs fixing. The cast exits stage left. Once on stage, she laments about how she could act. It's her turn to be in the spotlight, not pointing it. Desperate for attention, yet full of anxiety, she was never able to put herself out there before. Ruth begins one of the songs from the school play. Throughout her performance, Ruth's anxiety melts away, and she allows herself to be more personal and puts more of herself into the character she connected with. The music swells, she hits those high notes, and the "I'm Not a Loser" theme is heard. At the end, she's left on stage, beaming at her performance and her newfound confidence. Enter Jaegerman. He boos and chastises Ruth. Her anxiety comes flooding back. He splits her in half, leaving her body center stage. In the same way the Dies Irae is absent when characters die, it's present when they don't. Before anyone dies, the "I'm Not a Loser" theme, and thus the Dies Irae, must be established. The song "Cool as I Think I Am" is where the "I'm Not a Loser" motif first appears in full. It's in the bridge towards the end of the song. The theme sounds like it has the dies irae, as previously stated, but that last note is too big of a jump down. However, the deathly theme is still present in the harmony. The song is the second one in the show, taking place right after Peter agrees to go to a restaurant with Stephanie. Since no one in the show has died yet, chronologically, it has lower stakes. No one's expecting death, but there's still an anxiety there, because of the bully Max, and Pete has no idea what to expect with Stephanie. Immediately after the song, Peter doesn't die, but his confidence does.
Look, I know what you want me to do, okay? You want me to grovel. Run so you can chase. We've been doing this song and dance since the 4th grade, Max. Well, I'm sick of your shit. I just hyped myself up to come hang out with Stephanie Lauder, and after that, you don't seem so scary.
Come on, you can't stay in the bathroom all day.
I'm not. Just during lunch, passing periods, and any times I might run into Max Jagerman.
In Cool As I Am Reprise, the song becomes a mashup of the original song and If I Loved You, a duet between Peter and Stephanie. It comes after the Lords in Black, basically Lovecraftian demons in the Hatchetfield universe, tell what's left of the crew that they need to sacrifice what they cherished most in order to be rid of Max's vengeful spirit. Steph and Pete realize they each cherish the other, and the song ends with Peter saying, While he sings that line, the melody changes slightly. Initially, it just follows the pattern of Cool As I Think I Am, but when he sings the line, knowing he must sacrifice himself, he doesn't sing the last note as low as usual, completing the dies irae. This time, the theme is sung by the lead instead of the harmony. This time, it matters more. This time, Pete knows he's going to die. But he doesn't. Max takes the bullet for him, then is lured away by Grace Chastity. She convinces the ghost to
Take me, Max! Right here on the 50-yard line!
When the two of them are done, it's revealed that Grace just gave up what she cherished most.
My chastity.
Max is taken to the black and white, basically hell, by the Lords in Black. Grace saved the world by having sex with a ghost. Later on, after the homecoming dance, Grace asks her date for a kiss. He kisses her on the cheek, and she is appalled. She reveals the black book, the one used to summon the Lords in Black earlier, and recites a spell that lets her take people's souls. She begins a reprise of Nerdy Prudes Must Die, now titled Dirty Dudes Must Die, and to keep in line with her beliefs. Right before Grace begins to ask who will pray for you, the I'm Not a Loser chorus builds in the background, same as before.
The nerds you made him Run, you little bitch! Who will pray for you when your body's gone? This is the consequence for what you've done.
This time, however, the choral harmony completes the dies irae instead of breaking it. Grace is set on cleansing the world of all dirty dudes. She doesn't directly say she's out to kill, but it is her intent. Music is fascinating. When you look closely, you can make connections and strengthen the themes of whatever media you're consuming. Sometimes these connections are super clear-cut, and sometimes it takes some digging. Music isn't always appreciated in media, especially scoring for film or television. I think people don't realize that music can make or break a scene. You don't really notice when the music fits perfectly, but you can immediately tell when it's out of place. Even where music is the central focus, like in musicals or even just songs being put out, the only things people really care about and talk about are the lyrics and maybe some complex guitar riff. The theory and technical aspects of music are often ignored. I only focused on one theme in Nerdy Prudes Must Die, and I didn't even get into what instruments are used and what those can represent. The way a score is used, especially in musical theater, can tell the audience a lot. If the composer does it right, the audience can pick up on patterns, learn what they represent, and then be able to know what is and maybe even what will be happening through listening to the score alone. I think we should pay more attention to the music, and broadly become more attentive and critical of the media we consume. You can find some really cool things by just digging a little bit deeper into things you're passionate about. Sometimes it makes it even more enjoyable to revisit having new findings in mind.
Who will pray for you?